Person on International Affairs, Michael D. Higgins, to respond to the debate and conclude the debate.
First of all, may I, through you, Chairman, express my deep appreciation for those members of the Labour Party who come to this highly valuable session on Sunday morning, which is always allocated to foreign affairs. I think I appreciate your presence and I appreciate your interest. I also want to say how important it is that matters like this are discussed by the Labour Party. Our founder, James Connolly, described the Labour Party as an international party in solidarity with the struggle of people all over the world in their different ways, in their different modes, in their different cultures for freedom and for a humane and balanced form of life. I think that, just to tell you that in this short debate, that during the next couple of months, we already have, it's on my website, a summary of our major positions in relation to most of the issues, and these will be expanded. It's under my own website as Towards an Ethical Foreign Policy. And what we will now be doing is we'll be expanding that section on towards a new departure in an ethical Irish foreign policy that is rights-based. And that will include reform of the Bretton Woods institutions, the articulation of a foreign policy that can't be trimmed back to take account of trade advantage, and that takes account of the new global reality after the collapse of the Chicago School of Economics. We are also developing our section which is in relation to human rights protection through the agency of the United Nations and United Nations reform. We'll be elaborating and developing a new form of our developed thinking in relation to peacekeeping functions, including, if you like, resource-based responses in post-conflict situations. As well as that, you have these motions which have been passed, which I'll come to, the nature of a rapid response agency, about, for example, as well as that, the changing of our aid policy, bringing it on so that it is not simply aid, but is international cooperation that takes into account the right of people, given their individual cultures and experiences, to move past things like climate change, the hunger crisis, their own right to development, rather than being on the receiving end of either aid or the imposition of a single model of development. We will also be talking about, I think the whole question will be at the right in the international negotiation of their position, the right of developing countries to be treated fairly, to come to the table in a state of preparedness and be able to reject suggestions, even those sometimes coming from the European Union. I think in relation to nuclear development, in relation to nuclear proliferation, we've taken the lead as not just much beyond the new agenda group. We've been looking at global poverty and insecurity. We believe ourselves that we should have a far, far deeper, better role for the Foreign Affairs Committee with the right of initiation and far more independence from Foreign Affairs. I think as well we will also suggest that any claims for development of European foreign security policy should be made within the principles of international law. We will, and I'll turn now just to indicate our attitude to the motions that have been proposed. They cover all of these. Let me say about Shannon Airport as well too. We are the only party that prepared a piece of legislation, a bill that would have required inspection of planes landing in Shannon, and that was proposed by me. Labour in government will implement that piece of legislation. We are also the people who have given a lead in opposing war and in opposing the abuse of human rights internationally. We have also, I wish now, because I'm coming to time, to indicate my attitude, or the attitude, as I said, my suggestions in relation to the motions that have been proposed. I suggest we need resolution number 70 on Israel and Palestine. All I want to say on this is this. These matters are urgent and simply can't wait. And may I make an appeal once and for all. If you have a disproportionate balance in terms of victims and in terms of loss of life, and if you have not just a humanitarian tragedy in Gaza, but if you have children waiting for a response from the international community, please don't say that you have to be so neutral that you are not able to respond. Those of us who are advocating resolutions like this are people who appreciate the enormous tragedy that has been experienced by Jewish people and by people who are in Israel. We condemn terrorism and we condemn attacks on civilians. But do not try to divide those of us who are interested in immediate international action and suggest that somehow or another we are unbalanced. That is a nonsense. And that's why I am asking you to pass resolution number 70. I hope that I'd be forgiven by my namesake Ross Higgins if I ask you to refer back resolution number 71. Only for this reason, that the last leg of that asks for no aid to go except through NGOs. I'm afraid they wouldn't have the capacity to keep going with things that are vitally needed in relation to education, for example, southern Uganda. I am not opposed to it, as I'll come to in a moment, because I think he has identified something that is terribly important. The different African countries who are passing legislation and whipping up fundamentalist views that are opposed to the rights of gay people are not just in Uganda, but I will be speaking as the spokesperson in international affairs to condemn it wherever it happens. But I ask for a referral back in 71. 72, I moved myself. I'm asking you to support that. And also to support number 73 in relation to disaster emergencies. In relation to the human rights in Zimbabwe and the addendum, I suggest that we support that. In relation to 75, 75 is simply asking that in relation to global poverty, that we take account that people have been looking after their hunger needs in different cultures in different ways. It's making a case for indigenous knowledge, for respect for local wisdom in different countries. And it is asking people as well to be able to take account, as it were, of the wisdom that they have inherited through their communities. I ask you to pass that. In relation to the others which have been, Joe has spoken about, 76 we are in favour of, 77, 78 and 79, and 80 is certainly one which I think the movement in Northern Ireland, which really is asking for the transparency in Northern Ireland public expenditure that we have been looking for here. Thank you very much, colleagues and comrades.